"Hey, Llama, hey, how about a little something, for the effort, And he says, there won't be any money, but when you die, on your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness and a chance to listen to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
A third of the people love you, a third don't care about you, and a third hate you. So you concentrate on the third that love you and you go for it.
I think the greatest Achilles heel for leaders is they don't give themselves time to think.
So my journey is one of those, there are a lot of detours. There's a lot of going off on the side roads.
Thrive Out listeners, you're in for a treat. We're here with Jamal Mashburn,
Jesse Itzler,
the John Maxwell,
Jackie the Joke Man Martling, New York Rangers great Mike Richter,
Lisa Lampanelli,
Mary Carrillo.
Oh, how nice.
I'm actually going through the practice of being an entrepreneur.
Pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and thrive loud.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have the global credibility expert, a TEDx speaker, and international best-selling author of over 60 books. He is known as the AHA guy and helps to extract the genius from your head and help you get it into a best-selling book of your own. He is an accomplished entrepreneur who has created 20 businesses in Silicon Valley, and we're here to learn his AHA on this very program. Thrive Loud listeners, Mitchell Levy. Mitchell, how are you today?
Lou, that was like the most killer bio intro read ever. I'll have to grab this recording and play it again. I love it. Thank you.
We'll cut it out. I'll carve it for you. I'll even put good music to it. And it could be, ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage. And then it'll be you. So
there we go. I love it.
So Mitchell, credibility. I think you've got a lot of it based on me reading that resume of all the things you've just done. But I want to understand, I guess, how you help people with this aspect of your expertise, because this is something that is the difference between somebody hiring someone else and not hiring them.
So it's a great question. And let me give you two answers. So the first answer, I'm going to put on my hat as the book publisher.
Okay.
So as a company, it's AHA that. As that publisher, what we do is we work with busy, successful professionals looking for more credibility with a book, and they have no time. And so that's our CPOP, if you remember the customer point of pain. And then the solution is that I do a 3-hour interview. I pull the genius from somebody's head, and after that, my team ghostwrites, publishes, distributes. We make the author an Amazon best-selling author. We do that in 4 months, and the author has spent 10 hours or less.
Oh, wow.
So to me, books are one of the best, biggest, most compelling pieces of credibility, of thought leadership you can create. And that's one answer. Lou, let me give you a different one. I am right now in the middle of interviewing 500 thought leaders on credibility. I'm proud to say you were one of them. And so for those that you go to thoughtleaderlife.com, you can just type in Lou Diamond and see your episode. And the interesting part is when we're done, we'll have 500 others, and I'll keep counting. And it's what I learned there that's so valuable. Having an asset called a book, okay, that's really cool. But credibility, one of the things that are coming out of this are new words, new terms. So I'm going to plant the seed CREDUST. We'll come back to that.
Oh, I like it.
And what I want to do is say, what is credibility? And so what's interesting is the dictionary definition at the moment. It's just simply, it's the demonstration of trustworthiness. And so I did a TED talk, and it was focused on, we do business with those we know, like, and trust. And I define trust as having and demonstrating integrity, authenticity, and vulnerability. So you could say credibility is having integrity, authenticity, and vulnerability, but I'm also going to use another word. I'm going to say commitment. Okay. It's kind of the say what you do and do what you say. It's kind of it's that person, when you think about someone who's credible, They don't have to tell you they're credible. They just are. You don't need a demonstration of a book or a website or whatever. You just see them and you know. So all the things that I've done in the past, those are things that can make me credible, but it's how I actually interact on a day-to-day basis that also delivers that value. And so one of the things that I came out of the credibility interviews so far is I'm going to leave you with one phrase. And that is, when you show up, show up. And what does that mean? That means come early, be prepared, and come with your heart. That makes a person credible.
I have to add here that I think you're tapping into all those different points of what it takes to be credible. I want to flip the coin here. Can you share an instance when you came across someone that was perceived to be credible but came up short, and what happened?
So we're not going to talk politics, right?
No.
Okay. Because I don't like talking politics, but
you can talk whatever you'd like.
How about just take everything that you see and in the world, everything you hear, and apply it to politics, and you'll see. So here's the thing that's interesting. Probably a great example. And still, I want to come back to CREDUST.
Yeah, I do want to hear what that's about.
And imagine what happens is when you meet somebody, physically meet them, they give you a business card. Or if you meet somebody online, you get introductions to them. The first thing you do is you're going to Google their name. Now, if they're in the B2B space, you're not even going to Google their name. You're going to go to LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, right? Yep.
And when you open up LinkedIn, what do you see? So imagine somebody who is the most classic example was a VP at a multi-billion-dollar company that had a profile, didn't have his picture, had his name, had a crappy bio. He had like 100 connections, and this was a legitimate one. So he just basically put it up and did nothing with it. Completely lost credibility with him. And I if I went further and looked at other management team members, and if all the management team was like that, I'd lose faith with the company.
So a way of messaging and branding yourself effectively, right, is actually a factor in being credible or not. Now, whether or not that guy could have been the most credible, all the stats that you had, but at least from that, not putting the effort in or the commitment, that's a big factor in really achieving that next level of credibility.
Well, it's how you're seen, right? I mean, that's the thing is what's fascinating. Since we all have a camera and we all have a microphone, we now have opened up essentially the entire world to be experts. And so you've got many more experts, many more competitors in whatever you do than you've ever had in the past. So the question is, how do you show up? If you have all these choices, what's going to happen is people are going to make a decision of who at least they need to evaluate before they even talk to anyone.
That's true.
And so if you don't show up well, you're not going to even be at the table.
It's table stakes. I'm with you on this. And now I want to understand what CREDUST is.
There we go. So what's fascinating about that word is think of it as servant leadership. Think of it as what thought leaders have been doing up until now. Think of it as a good speaker. What do? You thank your host. If you're even a good guest at a networking event, you're thanking your host. You're thanking others. It's good thought leaders. 80% of the content they share other people's content. You know what they're doing is spreading CREDUST. CREDUST is this magical entity when you're sharing CREDUST. So imagine you have this bag of CREDUST, and if you and I are first meeting each other, let's just say that bag is half full. And what happens is if you have a bad LinkedIn profile or a bad website, you start subtracting the CREDUST out of that bag. But let's say on the other hand is I'm on this show or you're on my show. Well, what did we do once you're on the show? We started sharing you on social media. You started getting feedback on the video we created and places. You started, hopefully, people reaching out to you. That's me sprinkling CREDUST on you. And given that I'm interviewing 500 other people, that's me sprinkling a bunch of CREDUST around. And this magic bag, think of it as either Tinkerbell's bag or Hermione's bag. When you reach into your bag and you start sprinkling CREDUST, what happens is it automatically refills and adds on top of it. So it's a great way to think about how can you thrive going forward? Well, start sharing the successes and the capabilities of others, and it comes back to you.
I'm totally in that camp, obviously, with the Thrive Loud program and your program as well. So I get the whole CREDUST thing. I'm just laughing because you got to write the book for CREDUST, because that is a spectacular title and name. I like it.
Well,
I look forward to it.
What happened is I had David Meerman Scott. David, if you know the term newsjacking.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I saw him at the National Speakers Association in Dallas in 2018. He did his whole thing on it. I loved it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Great presentation.
I've known David for, I don't know, probably a decade or two. And so I had him on the show, and in the green room afterwards to say, hey, David, listen, I'm doing such amazing stuff with these interviews. I need to be known around the globe for what I do in terms of credibility. I said, what do I do? He says, well, Mitchell, invent a word. And I go, okay, CREDUST. He goes, no. You could take your time and think about it. And by the way, I've redefined credibility. I've got a couple other words. I've actually picked up the URLs for 20 words. But here's what he said. Don't put a copyright on it. Don't put a trademark on it. Just, and by the way, if you go to CREDUST.com with 1D, you'll see my definition.
Great.
And so what happens, I just want more people talking about it and using it. The book I'm going to create, CREDUST, will be one of the chapters. And by the way, the chapter is going to call The Magic of CREDUST. And so the credibility book will be focused on, and this will be one of the outputs of the 500 people. The credibility book is essentially, how do we do it? What do we do? Where do we go? One of the chapters, as you know, will be on CPOP. Yep. As a matter of fact, if you put in the show notes, the link to your episode, that'd be great.
Oh, we will.
Because I loved your CPOP, your customer point of pain. And Lou, what's fascinating is 98% of people can't answer that first question when I say, what's your CPOP, before we start consulting, before we start talking.
For the listeners, they need to know, hold on, I'm interrupting because I love what he wrote here. CREDUST is the sparkle you and the other party receives when you share someone else's credibility. I love that. Sorry, continue.
God, that's beautiful.
I love it. I love words that are blended like that, the way you did this, and you made it 1D. I love those works like that.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
So another part was this is another word. I don't know if I need to own this word. It's just the acronym. It's CPOP, customer point of pain. And so, Lou, let me say this, and then you can comment on it. Here's what I'm going to say. We in business have been trained wrong for decades, maybe centuries. So don't worry about your value proposition. Actually, you believe in this. I watch your show. The value proposition sucks, right? It's good to know. But when somebody says, what do? They don't give a shit about what you do. They care about what you could do for them.
Exactly.
So the customer point of pain, and this will be one of the other chapters, it's simply a customer point of pain is 1 to 10 words, 3 to 5 seconds. It should be memorable, shareable, and encourage the question, tell me more.
Yep.
And so I gave you the CPOP for my publishing company. As the global credibility expert, I realized that I needed another CPOP for me. In essence, my CPOP, and CPOPs are typically defined as who's the audience, if you can say that, and what is that thing you're solving. So my CPOP is humans that want to be seen as credible.
Oh, that's great. That's perfect. And that becomes your superpower, which is really what you end up doing, is helping to fill that need there. And these are creative words, and I always think that's great. I love those in the creative space. And look, you've been creative through all these businesses and being an entrepreneur the whole time. You're probably off the charts as it relates to thinking in a box. That just doesn't work for you. You need to think outside of it. Coming up with
what box?
Exactly. So my point to you is, on days that you're not kicking on all cylinders, like the word isn't coming right off your tongue or isn't popping right out, and you're having trouble thriving, what practice do you seek, or individual do you seek out to get back on the thriving track?
Oh, it's actually a beautiful question. And I'm going to paint a scenario. if you think about creatives, you think about like Picasso or somebody that's sitting in a studio and they're sitting by themselves and they're painting or they're creating. They're creating the songs or writing the songs or their music, or they're sitting down writing the book. That is one form of creativity. I'm a bigger fan of joint creativity. And so what happens is every single day, there's opportunities multiple times during the day where people you interact with are giving you presents. And if you're not ready to receive, if you're not receptive to see what people are saying, to hear or feel their feelings, their approach, their ideas, you're missing on opportunities every single day. And so what happens, I'm typically between 15 and 25 calls a day. And I don't think I end one call without getting some aha moment. I mean, my job is to deliver aha moments for others, but I get at least one or more with every conversation. And whether or not I do things with it, that's another scenario. But what happens is it's beautiful to listen to people and interact. So I guess if I'm sitting there and I haven't learned anything new, I'm like, oh, this must be a day I have no phone calls or no Zoom calls.
So I like this. Your ability to get back on the thriving track is tapping into the power of connecting, and it's connecting with others. And you like, actually, I would imagine, speaking and seeing more so than a lot of the written communication that goes back and forth. I imagine you need that sense of the conversation for you is probably magic dust in itself, helping to stimulate and get you going and picking you up.
Well, it's more asynchronous because you then build off of each other. So I'm going to say the answer is yes and so what happens is, because things need to be written down and things need to happen, I have a nice team behind me that will then take like I can sit down and write all this stuff down, but if I do something a number of times and it if it's repetitive, it gets kind of boring for me. So what happens is I built a team that can then take some of those things and turn them into a better written language, which some of the people need to see.
Let's do this. I want to do the admin part of the show right now because I want to hit some of the peel back the curtain and get a chance to talk to the wizard a little more here. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, links in the show notes, all that stuff we will have, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Oh, sure. Well, I have over 200 domains. I probably have at least 25 or 50 active. And I used to go on a show and give you 5, but let me give you 1. So it's my name, MitchellLevy360.com. That's MITCHELLLEVY 360.com. First thing that you're going to be presented with is a short 2-minute customer testimonial video, because what better way to figure out who I am than to watch a quick video. And then you could connect to me on social media. The show you were on was Thought Leader Life. That's there. Those that want books, it's ahathat.com/author. But the most important thing, if this is interesting to you, if you decide that you want to create the type of credibility reel, new term is CredReel, if you want to create a credibility reel similar to Lou Diamond, you could book time directly on my calendar. We could talk about it, see if it makes sense. And that's all at MitchellLevy360.com.
I love it. And having been on that show, as he's mentioned a couple of times here, it was a lot of fun, great conversation. And he has an innate ability for asking the questions that matter most. So listeners will have a great chance to have that opportunity if you get a chance to do that. Take advantage. We'll put all the links and everything. Okay. Now we're going to go down Fun Street with you. First of all, I want to start off basic question here that we do on the show here for the Thrive Loud community. And that is, what is your all-time favorite movie?
Matrix, the trilogy.
And I was going to go in there. Do you rank them like in order of which one you like, or you like them all as a whole, the whole concept?
I think this is true for most trilogies. The first one's always the best because you get brought into a world you hadn't seen before. The second one is a continuation, which is okay, but not as powerful. And the third brings it home. So I would always do on trilogies 1, 3, 2. It would always be typically my favorite.
What is the moment in Matrix that connects the most with you?
Well, The line I use the most is, "Hey, do you want the red pill or the
right?"
or the blue pill?
I knew it was going in that direction.
Well, because it's simple. Like what happens is if you have made a decision that there are no boxes in life, when you run across individuals, 99.9% of the world that live in a box, when you present them a framework that allows them to get out of the box, I ask the question, do you want actually to think outside of the paradigm you live in? And most people say no. They don't actually say no. They say yes, but then the next thing they do is they put themselves right back in the box. So they're saying no by their actions.
I like it. And what is great about that, just even from a film point of view, is the angle that they show through the glasses of Morpheus of the pills. It's such almost a psychedelic type of way of looking at it, very Alice in Wonderland like, which makes it fun. So I always love that movie.
Oh, I'm going to enjoy watching it the next time to take that vantage point. Thank you for sharing.
I would definitely do that. Okay, now before I get you know what? I'll go to this one because you were stressing about it. Do you have a song that you like, a jam that when maybe you need to get motivated or work out or something like that you use to kind of pump yourself up?
You know, I have to. So this is really funny. I lean towards rock and roll. So okay. I'm a big fan. Anything, anything Zeppelin is a big Zeppelin, Steppenwolf, so on. You know, I was at a networking event, actually a weekend long retreat. And when I said, listen, I don't have a super favorite song, and they were trying to figure out what song I should play when I stand up and do an event. And they were thinking it was from the movie Happy Feet. And I should it's the Be Happy song from Happy Feet. And I'm like, right. Okay, that's interesting. I like it. But no, I go to rock.
Go to rock. I could see the Zeppelin more in you. Along those lines, the several times I've met you, and a lot of the imagery that we may have for our listeners to see on this show when they see some of the CREDUST that we're going to be spreading around from this episode, Mitchell Levy wears a hat often. Is there a story behind this cool look? Because you pull off looking cool in a hat better than most people do. Is there? It's something that just happened one day, or it's always been your thing?
Oh well, so we as a family, for the last 20 years, I've rented a house in Europe, and we invite friends and family to visit us, and we do it for a month. It's typically the month of June.
Okay.
And it was about 4 years ago, we were going to Paris. And prior to then, I would wear a baseball cap all the time. And one day my wife comes to me and she's got a fedora in her hand. And she goes, honey, we're not going to be those stupid Americans that walk around Paris with a baseball cap. You got to wear this. And of course, I try to argue with her, and I of course, lost that argument. And then what was fascinating is I don't necessarily post. I think about my Facebook, LinkedIn. I post almost all the time. Facebook, I just can't get to it every day. My business page is every day, but my personal page, not really. Well, when I'm in Europe, I post every day. So I started posting pictures of me with a fedora in Paris. And the fan base, like people who I hadn't even knew were paying attention, started coming out of the woodwork. And the responses were so powerful that I let my fans win, or I let my wife win, depending on I let everyone else win, which of course made me win. And so now I wear a fedora all the time.
Listeners need to know this. He's got great hair underneath it. So it just, from those follically challenged like myself.
Well, I don't know if I have great hair, but compared to you.
Yeah, you have great hair. Okay. Oh, Mitch Levy, this was awesome. I think we got a little bit of a sprinkling of why you have that aha magic powers and what you can bring to the world here. Really glad to have you on. I think the key things I'd love to package together, because I know you do this well, try to wrap this whole show in a bow for us. Give a key takeaway for our listeners as one thing that they should think about as they're thinking about whether their brand, their message, or moving forward, something that you can share.
Well, just in a day-to-day basis, do what I did for this show. Make sure that you come early. So I was sitting there 10 minutes before we started. Make sure you prepared. I watched our episode. I listened to a couple of your episodes. I looked at your LinkedIn profile. And then as part of the conversation itself, come with your heart so people can see you. Because if they can't see you, how are they going to want to even consider doing business with you? So basically, show up when you show up.
Mitchell Levy, ending the show on a high note here, mic drop there. Thank you so much for coming on Thrive Loud, man. It was great to have you on.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. Thank you so much. This was great. Thanks, Lou.
And to all our Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.